Think of writing like an exploration, like you're setting out on a 5-mile hike. You have a general idea of the trail that you're setting out on, but maybe you don't have a precise destination in mind. You're just setting out and you'll see where you end up. And along the way, you might encounter some beautiful wildlife, some birds, foxes, bears. You might get to the summit of a mountain and see some beautiful views. Look down on the landscape and breathe deep and think, I've made it. And maybe you'll get a little lost along the way, have to bushwhack a bit and figure out where you are and how to get where you're going. When I think about my task as an editor and a writing coach, it's somebody who comes alongside you in that journey of exploration to help you navigate the trail together, find out where those trail markers are and follow the path. And when we get a little lost, or when we have to jump over some downed trees or slide down a muddy decline, coming alongside you and doing that with you, figuring out how to get where we're going. That's what it's like to have that final product, that book, that dissertation that we've been working on together for months or years. And we get to the end of the process and think we've made it. One issue I've seen in this line of work is how many people are absolutely bright and have something so meaningful to say, but writing just isn't their thing. Perhaps they are professionals who just don't have that much time to write, or they've taken so much time off of school and they're coming back to earn another degree, or maybe English wasn't their first language. And to come alongside those who have something meaningful to say, but need help saying it. And we see the brilliance behind the struggle. We see the brilliance behind the challenges with writing. The year was 2019, and I was a young parent. Me and my wife had just had our second child, Malia. Our first child, Pierce Jr., was just a couple of years old. And I was thinking about how can I make a little bit of extra income? I loved my full-time work in ministry. I was a prison chaplain and an associate pastor. And that was fulfilling work. It was beautiful. I loved it. But I was thinking, how can I supplement my income? I had friends who were in ministry who were plumbers on the side, who were electricians on the side, who drove trucks and just made the finances work with those extra skills that they had. And I was thinking, I'm terrible with my hands. Anything that I touch in my house that I try to fix, it breaks. I'm terrible. Anything hands-on that might be useful. And I got to thinking, what sort of skills do I have that I could use in the marketplace? And the only thing that I could think of was writing and editing. In my undergraduate experience in Nyack College in New York State, I had been trained as an editor and a writer. I worked for Nyack College's writing center. And when I was first hired, I was a document prepper and somebody who kept the database to keep track of who we served and how we served them, how many people we served. And eventually they came along and said, hey, do you want to be trained as one of the writing consultants? And I jumped on that opportunity really quick because this was prior to when the minimum wage was raised to $15 an hour. This was back when it was a big deal to be making $10 an hour as a young college kid. And when I was first hired, I was making $8 an hour upkeeping the database. So I quickly said, absolutely, I will become a writing consultant. Train me in whatever way you want. But before long, I discovered I had a knack for it. I had a natural skill. It came easy for me and I enjoyed it. So I started out helping my fellow undergraduate students working on their papers. Before long, I graduated to helping master's students and doctoral students in the seminary associated with our college. And I really loved what I was doing, helping people birth their ideas on the page, coming alongside people as they explored their ideas and explored what they wanted to communicate. And being a part of that process was a really beautiful thing to me. So I got those skills and that training through my undergraduate experience. And as a young parent, several years later, I started to think, all right, I want to give this a try as a side job. Just nights and weekends, have some fun with it, make a little extra money. And at the encouragement and with the blessing of my wife and others whom I trust, I decided one night in August of 2019, tonight's the night. I'm going to give this a shot. So I put my kids to sleep. I grabbed my computer and I started researching, how do you start a new business? Figured out what I needed to do, set up a website, started emailing people in my network, letting them know what I was offering, and soon thereafter got my first client, and thus VanDunk Edits was born.
So, from my perspective, I think, well, you've always had a gift of taking something, writing, but starting something and like growing it into and like systematizing it. So I think when you were talking about how interested you were in like editing and doing that as a side gig, I'm like, why not like have a company? Like, you know how, like, you just have a gifting for being able to like just like grow something and make it beautiful. So
you really were one of the biggest pushes for me to actually go for it and to try and make something out of it. So yeah, thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. I think even from what? How old were we when we first met? 16, 14?
We met at 14, started dating at 16.
Yeah.
Got married at 20. Had this 20. Guy at 23.
Bam, bam, bam.
What about this guy?
No, but I think that was one of, if you guys, did you guys know Daddy in high school was one of the smartest people I've ever known, and then in college too. But he's so chill that he's like, I could do this and I'll just get a straight A, or I could do this and but he wouldn't. One of the things that would frustrate me so much is that I always had to work really, really hard to get good grades. Daddy just got good grades like that. And so I knew, like, I was like, this man is so smart. I know that he can probably create a business, or he can like run an organization, or he can like do whatever he sets his mind to. And so when he made VanDunk Edits, before he made VanDunk Edits, I was like, you should be doing more with your gifts. You're so smart. And so that's how it happened.
When I first started out, it was almost exclusively academic editing. It was dissertations, theses, journal articles, mostly theology. We started branching out into other disciplines as people with different specialties joined the team. We jumped into some social work. We dabbled in a little bit of medical writing, and we just started expanding what we did. By chance, one day I ran into a friend from church, Giselle Ureña, and we got chatting about what each of us were doing professionally. She knew me in my ministry capacity, but this was the first she was hearing about the editing work that I was doing. She had a real passion for business development, and I had a real need to transition what I was doing with editing from a side job into a real business. Giselle joined the team and really helped me think bigger and help VanDunk Edits become the corporation that it is today. I looked around and thought about who was in my network, and there was somebody I knew who was a fellow writer. Her name was Dorothy Greco. She and her husband, Christopher, went to the same church where me and my wife went, and where I eventually served as one of the pastors on staff. And Dorothy was looking for some extra work to do. I had some extra work to give. So we partnered up and started offering services together. We came at projects as a team, and I pitched her lots of difficult projects, and we still stayed friends. Her and her husband are some incredible mentors for me and my wife. She had a network that she gave me access to generously and selflessly, and helped me get connected as somebody who was trying to grow a young business. So it was a great thing when she and I were able to partner up and start serving people together.
My role at VanDunk Edits is to do what Pierce asked me to do, happily, with the exception of footnotes. He knows, after some experience, that if he gives me that job, we'll actually go backwards in the process. So my sweet spot is content editing. I love helping other writers to clarify and sharpen their projects, specifically ones that focus on spirituality and justice issues. My husband, Christopher, and I met Pierce and Tulia, we think it was about 8 years ago, at the church we were both attending at the time. And if you walk in the room and they're there, it's impossible to not be drawn to them. They're super smart, they're funny, they're deep, they're great conversationalists, and they're really just wonderful people to be with. My husband and I are much older than them. We could be their parents. We see them as friends. And when they moved away from Boston 2 years ago, tears were shed. As we have gotten to know Pierce and Tulia, it's very clear that their faith informs every part of their life, which is part of what drew us to them. Theirs is not a Sunday morning faith. We appreciate their integrity, their willingness to teach us things that we need to learn about, maybe particularly with regard to racism. So I had been in the field of journalism and being an author a little bit ahead of Pierce, not that much. And so when he first started doing this work, I really felt like, oh, there are some people you should meet. I know some folks who would be glad to meet you and who I think would help you on this journey. And every single person I have introduced Pierce to has told me multiple times, I'm so grateful that you introduced me to Pierce. If you don't know this, publishing is a highly competitive field, and if I'm honest, it's a little bit cliquey too. I didn't find it easy to break into certain spaces. And because of these experiences, it's been important to me to keep my foot in the door so that others can gain entrance too. And I've never had any hesitation to recommend Pierce to others. Pierce is a polymath. It's true. He's good at so many different things. As it pertains to VanDunk Edits, I think that he's really skilled in inviting others in to round out the team, seeing like where are our holes and who might be able to help us, and casting vision both for how he hopes to grow as an individual, but how he hopes the team to grow so that we can serve the people who come to us. He's constantly innovating, which always blows my mind because that's not something that I'm very good at. And I also think he does a remarkable job teaching, encouraging, and making others' work shine. And you don't often get that in an editor. You know, sometimes maybe you get one or two, but very rarely all three. Pierce is really good at seeing the big picture of where an author or student wants to go, but then also he has the capacity to drill down into grammar and syntax and vocabulary, which, speaking as an author, is not a given for an editor. So I would highly recommend Pierce as a person, but also as an editor, as a teacher, as a writing coach, and as a ghostwriter.
Dorothy recommended somebody to us, Oisin Rowe. Oisin joined the team as one of the editors, and eventually it came out that Oisin had a real talent for networking and growing our organization in connection with other organizations. So Oisin joined more of the business side of things and the marketing side of things. There was Dan Hauge, who I went to Boston University School of Theology with. I was in my master's, he was in his doctoral program. Brilliant guy. He jumped on the team and really offered a compassionate and thoughtful voice to the editing projects. There was David Shim, who he's no longer on the team with us. He had to take a different job assignment, but for several years, he worked with the team and offered just a really insightful and thoughtful commentary on people's papers and dissertations and theses. Then there was Lauren Hickey, Amanda Cherry, also from Boston University School of Theology, people who I sat in class with and just saw their incredible perspectives on these different issues. And they've offered that to all of our clients, along with a real attention to detail and lots of care, and really like I do, and really taking on these projects as if they are their own. And then there's Andrew Edward, who I went to undergrad with, a fellow biblical and theological studies major who really had a deep, thoughtful way of coming at written work. And I saw that in his work in college, and I knew that he would apply that to the people that we serve, the dissertations and books that we like to edit at VanDunk Edits.
Hi, my name is Andrew Edward. I'm a editor here at VanDunk Edits. I've been working with Pierce now for a little over 2.5 years. On the day-to-day, I'm just a content creator. I know that sounds cliche, but I'm a home cook, and I run a cooking channel across mostly all social media platforms. I've actually known Pierce for probably 14 years at this point. We met at Nyack College, also known as Alliance University, in the year 2011. We started off in the same year in the Biblical and Theological Studies department. I remember Pierce as what I can describe as only being ambitious, because he graduated a year earlier than me, if I recall correctly. So he finished a 4-year degree in 3, and he went and got Afterlife. I remember the awards he won when he graduated from our department, and I was quite jealous of him, actually, because I wanted to leave college 1 year early as well. But alas, Pierce worked harder than me. And that kind of always left a lasting impression in my mind. As for what I do at VanDunk Edits, well, I do consultant work and, of course, editing. Pierce approached me in 2022, and he said he remembers me being bright in Nyack, and he wanted to talk to me about his company. So I spoke with him. I was actually very intrigued, and it was actually something I really wanted to do, to get back into the academic space of editing academic papers and dissertations. And what I do now on a day-to-day for VanDunk Edits is editing any number of things. One day it could be undergraduate work for freshmen in college, or it could be PhD students who are in their 8th year in the program. It could also be 60-year-olds who are writing their first book in their life. It's a lot of varied projects, and I can say that our clients are always satisfied. That's how much Pierce has dedicated to not only acquiring a wide range of clients, but also training all of his employees well to treat each client with specific care to address their needs. And we're not just solely dedicated to the academics, we're dedicated to all walks of life. I've touched on projects that concern business acumen, Christian devotionals, and liberation theology, as well as Korean history. You name it, we've probably done it. This team is expansive, continuing to grow, and everybody has their own expertise and their own set of skills that they bring to the table. When you get one of our editors, you can be assured that Pierce has picked the best editor for the specific project. I'm proud to be part of the VanDunk team, and I know that it's going to grow and grow, and with Pierce at the helm, I know that the ship will be sailed correctly.
My sister-in-law, Malika Palacios, joined the team to help us with citations and formatting. My brother, Corey VanDunk, did an internship with us where he was helping me with a lot of the documents that I was working on. We had a need for another citations and formatting person after Malika found a job that was more demanding and had to step off the VanDunk Edits team. So we put a hiring ad out and found Sheila Owen, who has been fantastic with our citations and formatting. And we wanted somebody to help sharpen our online presence. So we ended up hiring Cynthia Chisholm Otupu, and she has been incredible in helping us grow our online presence and really sharpen our content. And now we have this beautiful team that really works together and has incredible teamwork. And we are serving people better than ever, and a million times better than I ever could when it was just me in my living room plunking away on my computer. Now we are a well-oiled machine serving people and helping people along that journey as they write and as they express their ideas. And eventually we started branching out, not just in academic writing, but also in writing for a popular audience in trade publications. We started doing proofreading and copy editing and developmental editing for book projects. We started working with publishers. We started working with those who were self-publishing. And the types of services that we offered grew and grew beyond just the academy to books and articles and even speeches for regular old people who were not pursuing some sort of degree or doing some sort of research, but something that somebody would pick up and read at their coffee table. The beautiful thing about working as a team is the way that we sharpen each other. I've learned so much from the people I work with, and we've gathered such an incredible family at VanDunk Edits where They teach me, I teach them, they teach each other, and we've become better writers and editors for it. Early on, when we were figuring out how to best serve people, we would be sending the document back and forth, marking it up, sending it back. The client would do their revisions, send it back, and that was working okay. But I started to realize, wouldn't it be better if we stepped people along the journey of writing all the way through from beginning to end, from when they had an idea, a thought in their mind, until the finished product? And I started to realize that as people are writing, as they're working on a book, as they're working on a degree, they don't just need the feedback on their writing, they need encouragement. When I approach a written project and I'm working with a client, I care more about the person than the work that we're producing. And writing and working on a degree, writing a book, writing a thesis or a dissertation, these are tough things. These are things that bring up frustrations and sadness and self-doubt and imposter syndrome. The task of writing, the task of research, these tasks take a toll on your soul. As a business owner, as an editor, as a writing coach, I'm on a journey of exploration, trying to find my way through the challenges and the exciting parts and the scary parts of running a business and of helping people with their writing. I would love to see VanDunk Edits grow into a comprehensive editing and publishing service where we can offer everything that a writer or a scholar might need. But one thing I know for certain is that the impact that VanDunk Edits has on our community and on the world is only going to grow. Me and my team are on this trail of exploration, and we haven't reached the top yet, but we are enjoying the journey. Oh, family snuggle time?
We don't even have to do family snuggle.
Yeah,
we could just chill.
Just pose.
Just pose.
You can put a very serious face on.
No, I'm gonna put it.
Oh, quirky face. Let's do.
You do your angry chip.
Oh, and what face are you gonna do?
I don't know.
All right, everybody do a face on 3.
Ready?
1, 2, 3. All right, and everybody smile on 3. 1,
1, 2,
3.
3.